Shalom, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Quo Vadis Podcast, the Catholic podcast that helps you to begin with the end in mind. I'm Taylor, and I'm joined by the esteemed Reverend Mark C. Melezova.
Shalom as well.
Thank you.
We've been
Feels
doing
good.
this. We're not gonna.
I know.
I'm not gonna rehash it.
But it feels good nonetheless. Every time it feels good for me.
Yeah.
It's like I'm impacting the culture when someone says shalom to me. You know what I mean? I don't think you know what I mean.
Nope. Probably because I don't do it, but
I feel like it would be no different than if someone came up to you and said how much they love the Muppet Christmas Story or the Muppet Christmas Carol or whatever the movie's called, because you do it on the podcast, you talk about it on the podcast, and like you're impacting the culture, you're having an effect.
yeah,
Hopefully a little deeper of a desired effect somewhere else in their faith life, but
baby steps.
baby steps.
Once you get in, you gotta get through the door. You know,
You gotta get through.
That's what Paul was doing. I mean, you just gotta,
He's got to get through the door.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Then it's done.
You're basically Paul. I mean, name one difference.
Finally,
Someone recognizes my esteemed nature. I did call you the esteemed reverend, though.
Yeah, we've been down that road too.
I know. It feels good saying, It feels good saying. I feel like the next time you're doing some kind of like speaking gig or whatever it is, you should insist that they introduce you as the esteemed Reverend
that's a tad.
Mark C. Melezova.
That's a tad pretentious.
Well, it's a good way to get yourself not invited back,
It's true.
but it'll make for a really epic intro, So you balance the counterweights there, which one's worth it, which one's not. Yeah. How you doing, Father Mark?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Pretty good. Yeah.
That's
busy
good.
week. Full week.
A full week?
Yes. It's on the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you heading?
A lot of places, all over the diocese. Just with the different Catholic apostolates going on, there's a lot of stuff to do. So
A lot of summer stuff.
Mhm.
Shout out to Camp Tech. Shout
Love
out
begins
to
here.
Love Begins Here.
Totus Tuus.
Totus Tuus. Man,
Mhm.
keep going online.
Totus
This is
tuus,
great.
Maria. Totus tuus, Maria.
Can you tell the good folks what that means?
Yeah, totally yours, Mary.
Mary.
That's what they say to the kids. It's a lot of that program is getting them like.
Yeah.
It's sort of like
Just get them
you know,
fired up.
like the old church fathers. They would write those hymns. It was like so they could remember the faith. They do a lot of that with Totus Tuus.
Yeah?
To remember. They had I heard it enough. I should be able to repeat it. They're doing the 10 Commandments this year, and it's like 10 Commandments, 10 Commandments. There are 3 for God and 7 for each other, or something like that. Like, but you remember it then? Like, I mean, I heard that like I don't know, an hour ago.
Yeah.
And
it's
there it
stuck.
is.
It's stuck.
3 are for God, 7 are for each other.
I really wish you'd remember the rest of that, because that was really good.
Well, they go through the 10 Commandments, so I can recite those. I can't sing them.
Yeah, but that's what I want.
Yeah,
I know you can recite them. That's
Yes.
boring. I want you to rap them or whatever you want to do. That was pretty sweet.
Yep. So
your rap career's in view now.
yes.
I can't wait for the album of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that'd be good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely high quality. Speaking of high quality,
Are you getting a lot of high quality sleep lately?
no, no. I mean, I'm getting much more high quality sleep than my wife, who has to actually get up and feed the baby. I just wake up when the baby cries, and then I.
Then you kind of roll over like, honey, the baby.
It's funny. I don't think she'd mind me sharing this, but
Too late. Here it comes.
I know, here it comes. But because this is the second child, there's kind of like the sense for her and me, like we're able to kind of endure it a little bit more, like the crying. Like you're just kind of more used to that stuff. And there's actually been a couple of times now where she's been sleeping, like just dead asleep, and Ava's crying, and like Rachel doesn't wake up, and I've woken up and wake up Rachel. I'm like, honey, I think the baby's crying. She's like, oh, sorry. She kind of rolls out of bed and goes to get her, but every once in a while I get woken up and Rachel goes, hey, can you just go rock her for a little while? And I go, sure. And I jump up, put on my glasses.
Do you guys do like rock paper scissors to see like whose turn it is?
We're far too tired to do rock paper scissors. Plus,
You just lose.
I'm
done.
I don't think
I lose.
I don't think I'm gonna look at my very tired wife who's currently trying to feed our child every night in the middle of the night and say, honey, I'll play rock paper scissors for it.
You become boring after your second child.
You used to be fun, Taylor. You used to be fun.
This is just me. This is good speculation because I won't have these experiences. I mean,
It's true.
I don't honestly believe you would play rock paper
I
scissors.
don't. Yeah, I'm glad you don't honestly believe that.
But it's just it's
In the
fun to
same
think
way,
about.
in the same way, I don't honestly believe that you're gonna make a rap album. But if you want to, we have the equipment here, so you can feel free to come in here and drop some sick beats, man.
I already got my name.
Yeah, what is it?
Single scoop vanilla. There's a story behind that. When I was in college, I went to a lot of the Badger games, And if the Badger hockey team scored 5 goals, it was the Culver's 5-goal free-for-all. And you take your ticket to Culver's, and you got a free scoop of ice cream. And I was explaining this to my friend. He's like, well, what do you get? Well, you can get a single scoop of vanilla, chocolate, or the flavor of the day. And he's just like, single scoop vanilla. He's like, if you ever became a rapper, that'd be your name. Single scoop vanilla. True story. That's where it came from Badger hockey, Culver's. This is super Wisconsin.
That was the perfect capstone on my day. That was incredible. Single scoop vanilla.
It's me.
Wow, that's you. I see it. You embody a single
I can't
scoop
believe I
vanilla.
shared that.
I can't believe you did either, man. Get that trending on Twitter, people who listen to the show. That'd
no
be
thanks.
wonderful.
No thanks.
Well, we have another priest in the studio with us
we do.
today. Which, I mean, maybe he's has a fun nickname, but to my knowledge, he doesn't. We have Father Patrick Costello, the recently ordained Father Patrick Costello. Hey! Mazel tov! Father Patrick, welcome.
Thank you, Taylor.
It's good to have you here, man.
It's good to be here.
So Father Patrick is the parochial vicar at St. Pius X Parish in Appleton. I would ask you how that's going, but I think like you just started today or tomorrow or something,
or
right?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
So
I read the letter.
You're not even sure then,
Right.
man. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Just tell us how you're doing.
Doing really good.
Yeah. I mean, you're riding high.
Yeah, I've been a priest for about a week and a half, and
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. So I have actually a little. I don't know how long I'll keep doing it, but I have a little mass log book. And I think I celebrated. I think I celebrated my 12th mass today.
Okay, is this a thing? Like, is this a thing with most priests? Because so far, you two are the only two I know who do this.
I don't think so, but
I mean, it's not a bad thing. I just never heard of
it.
this.
I don't know. That's
Really?
why I did it. Yeah. So
How many did he celebrate?
I don't know, probably like 25,000.
Well, that's the thing, because like I mean, he was a priest for a long time.
50 plus years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You should find that. That's so interesting. So you're keeping a mass log book. So why? Why do you want to keep a mass log book?
Well, I'd heard the idea from some others when I was in seminary, and I was kind of intrigued by it. I like logs and keeping track of things like that, and I kind of think it would be pretty amazing to look back over the years and to just see all the different moments of grace through the sacraments, especially through the Mass.
Sure. I think I should keep a diaper log book. No.
Nice.
What's wrong with you?
I was trying to think of what's the fatherly equivalent to this in the biological.
No, that was a good one. Yeah.
Diapers changed.
Yeah.
That'd be a pretty good
Well,
one.
there's some things you don't keep track of, I guess. Maybe for priests, it's confessions. For parents, it's diaper changes.
That's
Yep. Did not keep track of confessions.
Yeah. That would seem like maybe
or anointings.
Maybe I'm wrong on this, and the more senior priest in the room can correct me. That would seem like something that would be tough to keep track of.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, like, not only are you like, if you go to any kind of like a young adult or youth event and you're there hearing confessions, I mean, you may, very well may hear 50 confessions in the 2.5 hour time span they have allotted for a confession. I'm sure people tonight who just stop you and say, "Hey, can you hear my confession real quick?"
Yep.
And you say, "Sure," and you kind of bob off to the side. That'd be tough to keep track of. Unless you keep one of those cool like little clicker things that the ushers do at mass. You know, just click in.
Some of those priests do that. They keep them in their confessionals.
Do they really?
Yeah, because as I go around and cover, sometimes they have them. Yep, like the
interesting.
When I think of the clickers, I think of like Bay Beach when they're like going on. Like,
I was just there this weekend.
Yeah,
I was just there. That was a cool place. Yeah, the little clickers.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I don't know where you go to get one of those, but
Amazon.
Yeah,
probably.
Millennial. Yeah.
You're a millennial too.
I was thinking like Dick's Sporting Goods.
You're so
Dennis.
accusatory of that. He's a millennial too.
You might be able to get one at the church goods store. I
church.
took my first visit to DeWitt's
Do
Church
they
Goods.
actually have one there?
I'm sure they do. He seems to have everything related to anything church.
I've always loved going to those stores because like you find some really interesting things in there sometimes. I feel like one time I came across a statue of Saint Michael that I literally couldn't tell if he was a woman or a man. It was very interesting looking. Statue of Saint Michael, and it was also huge. It was like almost my size. The thing was like a couple $1,000s. This wasn't in Wisconsin. I feel like I forgot where this was. But anyway, I saw it and I was like, oh my goodness, that is epic. Like just for the sheer size of it. But I don't think I could justify a couple $1,000 spent on a life-size, gender-neutral Saint Michael the Archangel. So
think of all those diapers you could, buy with
so
that
many
kind of change.
So many.
And for the diapers, he did show me also the incense room. So he has a whole room.
The incense room.
Yeah, just all incense on the shelves. Yeah. But some of the priests were telling me the problem is that they don't...
Like the different smells of incense?
Well, yeah,
is that
but
what it
the
is?
priests were saying the problem is they don't smell out of the box like they smell when they burn.
Oh, really?
So maybe you have to get a little
Ooh.
sampler and find one that works.
Okay.
Come
Do
with
you-
your own charcoal.
do you-
Burn this.
Do you have a preferred incense scent, Father
Mm-mm.
Mark?
Mm-mm.
You don't?
I know what I like and I know what I don't like, but no, I don't have like a specific. Whatever we got at the house is good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah, the stuff. There's places that
Yeah.
it's
No.
not good.
No.
No.
I feel like I've smelled some pretty like it. Not I won't say musty, but like it's just like somehow overpowering. Like it's not. I don't know. I don't know how to put it.
You know
but
who's got
it's-
the best incense?
Who?
The Orthodox.
The Orthodox. They crush it
Except
with the incense.
Except something that our liturgy director at the seminary was talking about was we got a free pack of some stuff from Greece with the Orthodox.
Okay.
And it smells great.
Did someone
it smells really
smuggle
good. Yeah, exactly. The problem was actually it was a little bit of a sad story because they had gotten their incense from a supplier in Syria, and then
Wow.
when the Syrian civil war kind of took
Oh,
off,
sure.
they actually those guys stopped producing after a while, and they
Makes
had
sense.
a stockpile of it. They ran out. They were looking for some new stuff, so they tried some from like Eritrea, Africa, and other different
Wow.
places, but they found one from Greece, and it was good smelling. But the problem was it did not create a lot of smoke.
Oh.
Mm.
And what our Benedictine monk says, he says the Orthodox, they use incense so much that they don't want it smoking out a ton.
Oh,
because it's going to stain stuff.
like billowing out essentially, right?
Whereas
Yeah.
we use it maybe a little bit more sparingly, but when we do, we
Sure.
want to see it as
Yeah.
well. And it's kind of disappointing when the priest,
Uses that
smokes
stuff,
and you don't really
yeah.
see anything
It's
coming.
like-
So
That makes sense.
It's like genetics or something with like, plants and animals like getting into what you want. Like they got it genetically written. They don't want a lot of smoke for that
Right.
reason. Like it's amazing.
This
Like,
is the non-GMO
Right.
Orthodox incense.
man.
I actually remember when I was at Roncalli, we invited the Byzantine monks to come celebrate Divine
yeah.
Liturgy there one time, and we did it in our small chapel. And they use a lot of incense in their liturgy, which when you're in their chapel, like in St. Nazian's, it's not a big chapel, but at least it's tall. It has some room in it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And that place gets smoky, right? I mean, your clothes smell like it after, your hair smells like it. It's
great.
It's great. It's incredible. But when we were in a small chapel, I had to actually prop open the back door, the only door in and out of the chapel. I had to prop that open. There's no windows in there. I had to prop open the chapel door, and then there's like some outside doors, like maybe like 5 feet from that I then had to like prop open as well to try to get some kind of airflow. 'Cause when
They're all like
opened-
walking out of the chapel like it's the Undertaker. Like the smoke just billowing out.
Well, because like when I opened up that door, like some did billow out a little bit, and I was like, ooh. I was like, this is intense. I didn't want to have any smoke. I don't think there's any smoke alarms in the chapel, but there's got to be some in the school. And I was
That's
like,
true.
I'm balancing an act here. I'm like, either we get smoked out and all pass out, or we set up the fire alarms and make the fire department come on here.
the Shekinah glory cloud.
Yeah, there you go. It's the glory cloud. the glory cloud that may or may not make high school students pass out, and then I may or may not be liable for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Father Patrick, if you wouldn't mind, so part of the reason we have priests come on here, we like to have them share their vocation story. Your story of faith. Like, where did you come from? How'd you end up in seminary? How'd you end up becoming a priest? All that kind of stuff. So, take me back to wherever you want to kind of tell that story, if you wouldn't mind.
I think there's like 1,000 different ways that God reaches us in
Yeah.
life, and there's been so many that as I look back, I can really see His hand, moving me providentially, usually little by little, but at some important junctures. And so maybe a few of those reflecting on, I was moved around a lot when I was young, but since I was 9 years old, grew up in Neenah,
Okay.
and my parish, St. Margaret Mary. There, I went to the parochial school there, and then stayed at the parish until I graduated high school. Was active in the catechism at first as a student, and then teaching catechism there. And so there was an important moment in my senior year of teaching catechism, and we were teaching the 8th graders, and I remember just realizing how special it is to get to hand on the faith to the next generation.
Yeah.
First thing, I would learn a lot more because I realized I couldn't teach the 8th graders unless I myself knew what I was trying to
Sure.
impart to them. So it required some study on my part outside of the classroom to make sure the lesson plan was good and they were actually getting something of substance. And then when you kind of delivered a truth to them, and you could really see this look in their eyes when they got it, for the first time or in a deeper way. And that was really motivating for me, and I thought this is really amazing.
Yeah.
They're beholding something about God, and he is like working through me and the other teachers to give that to them.
Yeah. So how old were you when you were doing the catechism classes that you were teaching?
I was a senior in high school.
Senior. So how'd you get roped into that? I mean, because like my time in youth ministry, you really gotta pull people's heartstrings to get them to volunteer for that stuff. So how'd you get involved in that? Do you remember?
Unfortunately, I do have something of a poor memory with that, but I do know that
that's
we were
great with confessions.
Yeah.
That's a blessing.
But I was
did you just remember? No.
I really think that we were invited.
Okay,
it wasn't
nice.
a friend and I were kind of co-teachers for it, and we taught with another teacher, but it was actually so that after the first semester, that teacher actually had to leave the area. They moved. This other teacher moved, so it was just me and my classmate, a senior, who were left teaching with them.
Nice.
So we were supposed to be kind of the aides or assistants, and then we became
the
instructors.
You became the guys.
Yeah, we became the guys.
The go-to.
For better or for worse. So, but that was an important moment, and so I knew I wanted a good Catholic experience when I went to college. Looked at some places to go, some Catholic, not Catholic, but what is the Catholic student life? And I ended up choosing the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, which I was assured through my mom, who had spoken to the priest chaplain there, that they had an active Catholic student life.
Okay.
And good chaplaincy. And so when I was there, I got involved with Bible studies, with daily mass. Myself and a classmate in my company, he was actually from Rhinelander, Wisconsin, just so happens.
Wow.
That we were assigned
The
in the same
Hodags.
company. Yeah, the Hodags. One time he took on a vacation, we went to his place and we went hodag hunting.
Did you find it?
No, we missed,
come
we
on,
missed the
man.
hodag like everyone else. So he and I decided kind of mutually to go to confession. Well, I think that too, but to go to daily mass. We usually could leave lunch like 15 minutes early and go to daily mass before our afternoon classes, and that could usually fit with the military responsibilities of that day. So we did that. Got involved with the good Catholic community there at daily mass, as well as our Catholic student group and Focus missionaries, the Fellowship of Catholic University Students.
They were on campus there?
They were on campus. We had 2 men, 2 women.
Really?
And they were really, really good with
Wow.
kind of starting kind of discipleship groups and good Bible studies that had some kind of commitment to like a form of life, of living the Catholic faith, even with our military responsibilities. And then that friend from Rhinelander, in our spring semester of our youngster year, which is your sophomore year there, he went on a spring break trip and was with the Sisters of Life and the Franciscan Friars of Renewal in the Bronx. And he came back and he knew he was supposed to be a priest. And it was very surprising. And it got a lot of us in the Catholic community kind of talking about the idea of vocation. And I think really for the first time for a lot of us. I know at least for me. So it became like a real thing that you could do. And it was really nice, kind of refreshing to have this new dimension open up instead of just like planning our Navy careers, which was kind of just the normal way you would approach life there. But we started to say, okay, what is God calling me for in a certain direction in life? Deeper than just what my profession will be.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation going, and then later that semester, our priest on campus, an active duty Navy chaplain, a priest chaplain named Father Michael Parisi, he just kind of took me aside at a certain time, and I had a really good relationship with him. I knew he really cared about us, and he said, "Hey, I just see some signs when I look at the things that you're kind of drawn to, and I think those are signs of a priestly vocation." Or they could be. So
would you be able to articulate any what those signs may have been for him?
I think a number of them were nothing big, but I think together it kind of pointed in a certain direction.
Okay.
So like that I was like a catechist there with the children on base.
Okay.
And I was enthusiastic about it. And then I was in the Bible studies, wanting to go to daily mass, trying to grow in the life of grace, especially through confession. And maybe a little bit of a helper for him was that a classmate of mine had kind of gone to him about a problem with me, a little jokingly, but it was like I was reading in differential equations a book that was not related to math at all while the teacher was lecturing.
True confessions.
Yeah, exactly, true confessions. And I was just reading this book in class because I wasn't getting anything out of the math, and I was really bad at math anyway, and it was my last math class ever. And so I just kind of given up. And he said, "You're not respecting."
I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that in my heart. That's awesome.
And my friend Carl said, like, that's not right. You have to give the teacher their due by paying attention to them. I don't care if you don't like the math and the subject. You're not in there to read your own book. And so I said, no, that's ridiculous. Like, I only have a limited amount of time, and this is when I want to read this book and not getting anything out of the lectures anyway. So he said, okay, we'll go to Father Prisi about this, and he can adjudicate it.
It's like going to King Solomon. Judge this for me.
I was going to say it's very
Split
biblical.
the baby.
I was going to say it's very biblical if you and your brother have a quarrel, figure it out amongst yourself,
Yeah,
then
you're
go
right.
to the presbyter.
Yeah.
Right? So there you go.
You're
So
right.
there you go.
what's
You're
happening.
I was thinking the King Solomon, right? When they're like arguing over whose
Yeah,
child it
the
is.
baby,
you know?
yeah.
Sorry.
I could have.
Sorry.
I was too old.
So keep going. you go to the priest.
Yeah, so we go to the priest, and my friend explained the situation, and I kind of tried to defend myself. And all the priest said was, well, Patrick, what book is it that you're reading? So, well, it's a great spiritual classic. Everyone says you should read it. I've never read it, and I'm really liking it. It's The Story of a Soul, the autobiography of St. Therese of Lisieux.
Sure.
And I remember he just kind of looked at me and was like, and that's all he said. He never made a judgment on the case.
Now hung jury.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think that when he saw that, if you know anything about St. Therese of Lisieux, she plays an important role often in prayer for priests, in prayer for seminarians, and for men who are being called to priesthood. It was just part of her charism, really. And so she, I think, was playing a role of kind of helping me, draw me into that priestly path without my knowing it. And it was really, when reading that was really an occasion of getting to know a saint on a more like a friendship kind of a level in a way that I had not really experienced with other saints to that point before. Maybe a little bit with St. Francis of Assisi before then, but it was important for me. And I think the priest, seeing that, he might have said, okay, like, this is often something that's associated with men who are called. Not every time, but it's a sign. And so I think he took a little bit of a risk in saying this to me, because it was not something I'd heard really from anyone else directly like that before, saying, knowing you, these are some real signs. And he was a wise man. I knew he cared about us as a priest, so he was authentic. And so I knew, even though I was resistant to him and I let him know that, I did not actually like the conversation. I had my own plan and my own thoughts on how I would move forward in life. But I came out of that conversation later thinking and praying and saying, okay, if I want to be honest, I do have to, with the Lord and with myself, I need to pursue this question. I need to actually start some kind of real discernment.
I just think it's just awesome. I mean, in regards to discernment, just make a comment on that. I mean, some of those beautiful things. You had this priest, as you said, that he cared for you, that he was there, someone to open up to, somebody you can talk to. But then you were talking about your buddy as well, like having that accountability, somebody to walk with you as well, to kind of hold you. I mean, like, that's such an awesome thing. I mean, these are just basic things, but I mean, you were really walking the path of discernment, I guess, whether you knew it or not. Right. But you had a lot of those good pieces there, because as we've talked about before, I mean, if you're discerning by yourself, like, good luck. Yeah. It's just not going to go well, No. But so anyway, I mean, just some comment there.
Well, it sounds like too, I mean, the this is even reaffirming in a sense for me that the role of a priest in fostering other priestly vocations is astronomically important, right? Because, like, not only can they live a witness to that, like, it sounds like, what was the name of the priest again? I apologize.
Father Michael Parisi.
Father Parisi. I mean, like, it sounds like he was living like this life of a priest that in some way was attractive to the people around him, like the holiness what was attractive to people around him. But then also, he was able to notice those very subtle signs. Like, when I asked you what are the signs, your first instinct was like, well, there wasn't this big moment. I think a lot of people kind of want or wait for that big moment to maybe say yes, or maybe kind of, take the next step. But a lot of times it just takes someone who knows you well enough, hopefully your parish priest or a priest that's walking with you, to just say to you, hey, I've noticed a couple of things. I've noticed that you come to daily mass, or at least you try. You come to confession often. Your prayer life seems deep. Like you ask the right questions. You should consider this. Like it's so simple, and yet, like, it just doesn't seem to be as natural all the time. And you hope that becomes more natural. So I think it's good, especially for a priest, to have that experience, have another priest, so that they can emulate that later down the road. Because it's one of those things. It's what it is.
Just to recognize. I mean, why wouldn't we? Because through our words, the Lord works in that He changes bread and wine into the body and blood. It's through the words of the priest these things happen. So why wouldn't He use the Lord's or the priest's voice to also call him to that vocation? I mean, like, it just makes sense. It just fits, So it's one voice, but it's an important one, as you said.
Yeah, and I think even with like married couples too, I mean, like if I don't know how often married couples spend time with couples that aren't married yet, kind of a thing. I don't know how frequent that is. It's not very frequent for me and my wife, but I mean, like I think there's probably married couples that's pretty common, especially I'm guessing if you got married younger, you still have friends from college that are not married, you spend time with like their boyfriends and girlfriends, whatever it might be. Hopefully a married couple that's living their vocation well, and I mean, sounds, like it would be willing to be able to step forward to that person that they know and say, hey, I've noticed the way that you look at her, the way you speak to him, and that's the way that my wife or my husband speaks and looks at me, and like, I don't know how close you are to starting marriage with this person, or like how close you are to pulling the trigger, I guess, so to speak, but the signs are there, and you should maybe consider that, and so I think there can be kind of even this translate into different vocations there, that there's some really good validity to having proper witnesses. So, okay, so Father kind of asked you to think more about this, so take us forward from there a little bit.
That got me on the path of discernment in a real serious way. It was intentional. He did actually tell me to, I was resistant, right, of course, but he did give me some things to do, and I said I would. So one of them was, he said, you should speak to your vocation director back home. That was Father Schuster.
Good man.
The time. So I reluctantly met with him, and basically, but he was good to still meet with me. We actually met at the Shrine of Our Lady of Good Help, which providentially, that's where I, a number of years later, last week, would celebrate my first Mass.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool.
That's really cool.
But he basically just gave me some good things. And what I do remember from that conversation, I didn't really move forward with like, okay, we're going to do an application or anything like that. It was just kind of like, okay, like, well, it sounds like you're still not convinced of this, so you need to take time to discern. But what he did say was, I had mentioned, well, I don't even know if I would be called to be a diocesan priest, or if I was a religious priest, something like that. And I remember he said something like, we're just, diocesan priest is kind of like your standard, like, regular priest. Like, I was, how did he put it? It was something like that.
You are standard infantryman.
Yeah, standard, like that.
Or your midshipman, right?
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
we'll use the naval.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and in the military imagery, I've often thought of it like it seems like the diocesan priest. Yeah, he's just your infantry officer priest. You know,
that you need.
Yeah, that you need. But it's not like he's not your special forces. He's not your super specialist doing something or another.
We're the special forces of the religious order.
I've always thought it was like the missionaries of charity, or just like
down
in the dirt, or just hardcore.
No, that's true.
They'll
true.
put up with anything.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. But poorest of the poor, it's a tough.
You've
mission.
thought about this.
Yeah, I've thought about it. I like the military analogies. I really like the military analogies. Or if you, I was in the Navy, so if you look at the Navy way, it's kind of like, the parish priest is just kind of the regular surface sailor. He's not the submarine guy. He's not the aviator. He's just sailing, doing the daily thing the Navy is always
and that's
done.
not to like demean it by any means, right? No, it's that's not like I guess you're not good enough to be special forces or something like that. That has nothing to do with it. No,
not at all.
Yeah, it's you need that there.
Right.
It's essential.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was just an image I'd never really considered before, and actually helped me see myself as a parish priest.
Sure.
It was just nothing super flashy, but like critically necessary. And then how does the gospel mission move forward without parish priests, without diocesan priests? That's how the Lord wants it set up in a big way. So that really opened my eyes. And then discernment continued. I was in a group of guys. We did a discernment group with To Save 1,000 Souls, the book, and a lot of fruit from that discernment group for the guys in it. And then about 3 years later, I was finally able to move forward with an actual, like, yes, I will do this. So
cool.
I had, at that time, been on board a ship in southern Japan for about a year, and I had a priest on board. I was very blessed to have a priest on board that ship. He's actually now an auxiliary bishop for the Archdiocese of Military Services.
Oh, cool.
Bishop Mum. And he was critical again. I basically had come to him, and I'd said to him about a year in, I said, well, if I wasn't in the Navy, and I still had 4 years left on my contract, but I said, if I wasn't in the Navy today, I would go to seminary. Like, that's where I was at, as a diocesan priest. And he just said to me, he's like, first thing, he closed the door of the stateroom, because it's like not something you probably should like say in the Navy environment.
I need to get out of my contract.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And
anybody,
he kind of hushed me up a bit.
Help me?
And then he said, Patrick, if that's really how you feel, you should just ask the Navy if you can do that. And I was like, well, no, I mean, I have this contract. And he's like, it doesn't matter. Just like put it basically put the ball in God's court, right?
Yeah.
And just you've done your best. So I did that. I remember I sent an email that night, or not that night, but very close to then. I was on duty. It was like 10 p.m. I was sitting in the ship's engineering log room, kind of where the engineers work out of. And I had an email open. I was the only one in there. And it was like to Father Schuster. And it was talking about I want to move forward actually with the process. And I remember just thinking, I was totally convinced this is what God was calling me to. But it was just like, when I press click or enter, like my entire life changes. Like it's going to happen like right here. And it was just kind of amazing to like sit at that moment and just think about it for a second, but with no doubt, but just like, wow, this is
just appreciate the moment of it. Right?
It's the beginning of that commitment of a vocational, like a vocational movement in your life. And it was like,
it's a step, bro.
Yeah, step. So I clicked it and
got an instant email back saying you're in.
Yes. All caps. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. God worked out a lot of things, and about a year later, I was heading off to Mundelein Seminary to begin for Green Bay.
That's awesome.
So the Lord took the ball and he ran with it.
Yeah, he crushed it out of the park, man. Keep the baseball references you're going. So
till the 9th inning, though, he kind of left me a little bit 11th hour on some stuff, which I think was good for my own faith.
Okay.
Like it's the Lord, in control.
Sure.
Not me.
It's always I've always found that when the Lord wants to remind me that he's the one in control, those are always the moments in my faith that I feel him most palpably, because it's usually the most frustrating when he's trying to gently remind me that I don't have any control. He lets me feel like I have control sometimes out of mercy, and then out of mercy and a deeper mercy reminds me I'm not in control, and that's always a good feeling sometimes. In hindsight, a good feeling. A good feeling. Not in the moment. But okay, so you go out to seminary. All the right steps are taken, obviously, because you get to ordination day for ordination of the priesthood. So if you wouldn't mind, that was only, 10 days ago? Roughly? Right, about 10 days ago.
Yeah.
So what was it like waking up that morning, going about your day? I mean, so we only have about maybe 9 minutes here left. So, I mean, I know I'm asking you a big question in a condensed amount of time, but what was it like? I mean, people always ask me, what was it like on your wedding day? And I can kind of give them a pretty good rundown of what it was like waking up and going through the day and that kind of stuff. So for you as a priest, you're about to be ordained a priest. What was it like waking up that day, and how'd the day go?
I mean, totally encouraged. I mean, the one good thing is that the way the church in her wisdom does the ordination kind of process is that you're already a deacon.
Sure.
So you're already committed to the
life. You've
life.
already said yes.
Yeah, you've already said yes. You've already made the promises. So now you've been given kind of a year to grow, into that, and to be ready to receive the great grace of the next, kind of drop of holy orders in the priesthood, and all the beautiful kind of powers that come with that through the sacraments. And so excited, but I felt quite tranquil with it.
Yeah.
And I felt very well covered in prayer from so many, and I just knew that on heaven and earth. And so it was a certain confidence, moving forward that day. So it was a great morning. I had a full house of guys at the Holy Name of Jesus House of Formation.
That's
between
cool.
Other seminarians, and actually my ordination from my Naval Academy class of 2013. I had 5 classmates there that were all at the ordination or at some level of formation themselves in priesthood religious life. So that was just great to have them around. Some classmates from the North American College as well, my seminary. So this felt ready to go. Getting to Cathedral was just a great moment, seeing it come into view there.
Sure.
Francis Xavier. And actually right when I got there, one of the priests that I had been on my summer internships was pulling into the same moment, and I had a bunch of stuff, and he helped bring it in.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, that's kind of
Father
neat.
Xavier in Wapaka. So that was
nice.
just great. Yeah,
that is really cool. Okay, so you get in. I mean, you're getting vested for liturgy. I'm just trying to find some of the bigger moments here. I mean, you can be the one to determine the bigger moments, but I mean, you have a private conversation with Bishop beforehand, correct?
Yes.
And then you process in. So I mean, starting from the private conversation with Bishop, possibly even getting vested, to the entire liturgy itself, what stands out to you? What were the moments that just were powerful for you, that you kind of realized the weight of the moment a little bit more? I don't know. Take us into that a little bit. And if it's all just kind of it kind of just happened, that's also okay.
I mean, big moments are they actually put you in a place to vest all by yourself. It's very quiet.
Okay.
It's actually very nice, and there's a nice image of
That would be kind of peaceful.
yeah, and there's a nice image of the face of Christ up there. So I actually asked for Father Parisi to come up there. I think I told Father Mark, could you find Father Parisi and send him up here, because I would like to have one final confession just before going
Sure.
to the ordination. So he heard my confession there, and then just got ready, and there's a beautiful picture of just the face of Christ.
Yeah.
So it really afforded a nice moment of prayer, just right there before our Lord, and say, okay, like, here I am, Lord. It's like your priesthood,
Yeah.
that you're calling me into, and I just ask for, the grace of faithfulness, to you for the whole life as a priest.
Sure.
And in that kind of peace and calm, and then just a few minutes before we began, got called down. Processing in was probably the most emotional moment for me.
Okay.
Our cathedral was beautiful, the music was beautiful, and there was so much just joy and love from the people in the assembly. So that was really, really impactful for me. And the beautiful fresco that we have of the Passion
Yeah.
in the back. Talk about the priesthood of Christ. I think the bishop says to you at the end, conform yourself, to the mystery of the Lord's passion and death, or something like that. So all that's right there. And then probably the most impactful kind of moment or thing I wasn't expecting was actually during the ordination, when the priests put their hands on your head.
Yeah.
Because you're kneeling, and every single priest in there, after the bishop does, puts his hands on your head, kind of show that unity of the priesthood. And you can't even see which priest is doing this, because the way you're positioned. I just got my eyes closed anyway. And it was just like hand after hand, hands after hands after hands. And after a while, it kind of felt like to me, like, at a certain moment, okay, these are the hands of, just Christ, because I couldn't kind of really distinguish any difference.
It doesn't matter who the priest was, right? Yeah.
Right. These are the anointed hands of his priests. And that was just, it was amazing. And it was really a special moment that I wasn't expecting.
That is very beautiful. I guess I never would have considered. I mean, I visually, as someone watching the ordination take place, that's always a very beautiful moment to watch the priest go up, and you kind of see the fraternity taking place there. But I suppose putting yourself in that moment, I mean, like, that'd be incredible to you don't know who that specific priest is. Who's I don't know. What are you thinking? You got a smile on over there.
No, because I was gonna say, for my priestly ordination, that was my highlight.
Oh,
is all the priests going through, and just. It was just one after another after another. And it's funny because all those hands. But it's funny because some of them, they do different things.
Oh, sure.
Like I remember one of them. I don't know if he was there, but like one of them put the hands in and did the sign of the cross on the forehead. Like I don't remember that one that just stuck out, but it was just a beautiful thing because it was not only those hands, but it was in my mind also an invitation into the brotherhood that is the priesthood. Yeah, he's joining us, for the work of saving souls. So that's why I was laughing. Just like it was. It was a great moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and this focus on the hands. I mean, another moment that I looked forward to was the anointing of the hands with the sacred chrism. And praise the Lord, because Bishop Ricken likes to use like a good amount of chrism on there, which is just really good. And that's kind of what all the guys kind of want to happen. So it's really nice when the bishop just pours it on.
You want to smell it.
Yeah.
It's like a baby after baptism. You want the smell.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's true. It's just such a rare. All you get is that kids at baptism, or whenever baptism happens, your confirmation, and then if you have a priest ordained. I mean, I will say one thing is, my guys in the back were awesome. My seminarian brothers, and they really nicely absorbed the chrism with the maniturgium, which give to your mom. It's really special, and it always kind of retains that perfume of the chrism. I think I'll recommend to the guy next year is like, don't after they get the maniturgium off, don't spend too much time washing your hands, because it took I think too much time, and the MC was like, okay, you guys gotta come. But two, kind of the smell, I think, is really neat to keep on there for a little bit. I think especially because there is a tradition that some people do is they'll kiss the anointed hands of the priest after the first blessing. And I think it's special if they can still get a little bit of that chrism smell. So I would just say
they want the smell. They don't want the taste, but they want the smell.
No doubt.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Though. You gotta
that holy smell to it.
I think there was a little bit left on mine, but yeah.
It's I feel like sometimes I'm giving people part sanitizer now with the host. You really gotta, you know what I mean? It's it's in the hand.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's beautiful. I mean, thank you so much for sharing all that. I apologize we're kind of cutting a little bit short here for you, but I mean that the story of your vocation is beautiful. Again, one of the things that we keep on hearing from priests sharing the story is just the gradual nature of discernment, and eventually kind of coming to a place where we just need to say yes, and then just keep taking the next steps as they come. And I think that's just such a good reminder for everyone who's discerning whatever their vocation might be, is that like there's very rarely going to be a big thundering moment. Most of the time it's going to be very small steps that someone hopefully is walking with them and taking those patient steps with them and challenging them, helping them say yes to the next thing. So thank you very much for taking time to share your story. I very much appreciate it. Would you mind closing us in prayer and giving us a blessing, if you wouldn't mind, Father?
So give everyone the first priestly
Please.
blessing. The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
May the God of peace make you perfect in holiness. May he preserve you whole and entire, spirit, soul, and body, irreproachable at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. Et benedictio Dei omnipotentis, Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti, descendat super vos, et maneat semper. Amen.
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 Thank you very much, Father.
Of course.
Appreciate you making time. Father Mark.
Hey, appreciate you.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Thanks.
You beat me to it.
I did.
Wow. Thank you.
Thanks,
That
Taylor.
That felt good.
You bet.
That felt good. Well, thank you.
Soak it in. Like the chrism into the hands. Soak it in.
So I'll be smelling that for weeks. that appreciation smell.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, very much for listening, for supporting the podcast. Please share us with your family and friends. Those might be discerning. Please be praying for more vocations. And as you pray for more vocations, as you live out your own vocation, may you always be keeping the end in mind.